Da, da, da.
Hello, everyone. It's Miss Yadley here. Welcome back to Fans of the Band Inside the Westlake Marching Band. This is episode 3. Can you believe it?
No, it's been so much fun, which was the only purpose of our show. I am Ms. Huslig, and I want to remind everyone we are not related to Westlake and we are not related to Eanes. This is purely for our amusement, which we have had a lot of.
Yes, we have.
And I also want to say we've mentioned the 5-star ratings that we love for you to give us, and we now know it's to make us feel really good.
And it does. So thank you.
So I wanted to say that this week's editing is a little bit rougher than it has been because we are talking with Ben Armeni, the percussion specialist at Westlake High School, who is very, very interesting. And I learned a lot.
I learned a lot as well. And I thought as a percussion mom, I would have maybe learned or known some of that information. But wow, I learned so much.
Yes, I did too. And we wandered off of the topic a few times.
I know.
And he felt compelled to mention some student names that I had to take out. And so you might notice the editing more than normal.
But that's okay. We're still learning. It's our first podcast, remember?
That's right. I need to learn how to go boing just to cover the names in the future.
Well, we can do it. We're still learning.
That's
We're
right.
still working on it. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoys this next episode of Fans of the Band Inside the Westlake Marching Band.
We are here today on our third podcast with the percussion expert at Westlake High School, Ben Armeni.
Hello.
Welcome. So we're going to start off with some rapid fire questions. Now, this third round, I am ready for it to be amazing. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Match grip or traditional grip?
Matched.
Okay.
Controversial.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Flowery Branch High School in Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Okay. Where did you march in high school?
I did not march. I was in the front ensemble all 4 years.
Aha. Where did you go to college?
I went to UNT for my undergrad and University of Nebraska-Lincoln for my master's.
Awesome. Did you march in college?
I did not march. I did front ensemble in college.
That's awesome. How long have you been a percussion teacher?
Since high school, I taught private lessons to other kids in the percussion studio because it paid more than washing dishes.
Okay. And how long have you been at Westlake?
This is my 4th year, but this is my 3rd year as a teacher of record. I was a lesson teacher and front ensemble tech for a year.
Awesome.
Masterclass
How
teacher.
old are you?
If you ask the flutes, I'm 39. I'm
Ooh.
28.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And
they
then
don't know.
what kind of music is your favorite to play?
Jazz.
Okay.
Improvisational music.
And what kind of music is your favorite to listen to?
Jazz. Improvisational music.
And who is your favorite composer?
Oh my gosh. I think
That's a
Lifetime.
terrible question.
No, that's a great question.
Why is
Lifetime.
it terrible?
Because there's so many
There's-
and it
yeah,
changes
what
with
time
your
of day
mood.
is it?
True.
You know?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
what day of the week?
today,
Today,
right
we were
now,
talking about a lot of Bach today. I love Bach. I can play Bach all day, every day. He's my king.
awesome. All right, that's the end of our rapid fire. We did pretty well.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
think
good.
pretty well.
You cut him right off.
I did, didn't I? Yeah, I know he wanted to talk more. I was like, nope,
Yeah,
we're
good
not
job,
having
good job.
that today.
Respect it.
Okay, now you can talk all you want.
Okay.
Yes, all you want.
Okay.
Questions? Are there any of those you wanted to revisit?
I know if a student listens to this, they're going to be mad about the matched versus traditional thing. And I have very real reasons for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a shock 2 years ago when we swapped over, especially the students who were on the snare line for like 3 years playing traditional.
Question. So you swapped to what?
I swapped from traditional grip to matched grip.
So now
We
that's
play
what they.
matched.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Maybe for some listeners, we should quickly describe the difference of a traditional grip and a matched grip.
Would you mind?
Yeah, traditional grip is, well, it's traditional. It comes from the old style military drumming. You had a rope drum that was slung around one shoulder and rested on your hip. So the drum itself was angled and you couldn't approach it equally with both hands. And typically it was over your right shoulder, so the drum would be angled. So your left hand would have a stick in it that was at a different angle. It was held differently and it's played differently. And then your right hand would do what we call now matched grip. And as drums advanced in their construction and harnesses advanced, which is a more recent thing. Recent being like not Revolutionary War, but 1980s, 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. We started to lose the sling drum harness and started to have harnesses, as we call them now. And then with that, the drum itself flattened out. It sits in front of you at an appropriate height at a flat angle. And so we match both hands.
Oh,
The drum's not tilted,
got it.
so we don't need to play a different grip in our left hand. What you learn in 5th and 6th grade is this universal matched grip. You hold the stick the same way in both hands. If you do something with your thumb in your right hand, you do the same thing with your left hand. It just makes more sense. It's universal in that it applies to playing mallets, playing timpani, playing glockenspiel, chimes, like everything. You hold the grip the same way because what you're forming is just a really basic fulcrum. And so when you just have a consistent feeling of fulcrum, you can pick up a snare drum stick and play a note, and then you can swap over to timpani and play a note, and then bass drum. And that's kind of like, as the music gets more advanced, you don't just play chimes. You play chimes for measures 63 to 72, and then you go to the marimba and you play a lick, and then you go to bass drum, you play a note, and then you play crash cymbals, and you're always swapping. And so having a feeling of universality, you just pick something up, and it's just the natural grip. I like that. It also makes more sense if you're in 8th grade. All you know is matched grip, and that's all you've ever played. And then you get to high school, and all of a sudden, what's this thing we're doing with our left hand? And why do we do it like that? Oh, it's tradition. Why?
Oh my
I feel
gosh,
like
Ayren.
it would be going back and forth from like, oh, all of a sudden your brake pedal's on the right side
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
your
it just-
gas pedal's on the left
like,
side.
There's no reason to swap. And I get it. It looks cooler. It looks way cooler. And the highest level groups, college drum lines and DCI drum lines, they still play traditional grip. It's tradition. But I'm not trying to teach to the top 1% of students who want to march DCI. This is an everybody thing. Everyone should have the chance to audition on snare drum and not have to learn a new grip. In the front ensemble, we play a 4-mallet grip called Stevens technique. And I didn't learn that when I was a freshman in high school. I learned Burton grip, which is a cross grip, and it's designed for the vibraphone because the vibraphone keys are flat and
Okay.
the marimba keys are offset, so the accidentals will sit up above, like an inch and a half above, and so the different grips sort of utilize that difference in different ways. But what you learn in middle school is Stevens grip, and you learn on a marimba. Then you get to high school, and you have to learn a new grip for a vibraphone. No, we just use Stevens technique. And the idea is that you learn this on vibraphone, you practice this on vibraphone, and then when you're a sophomore, or junior, or senior, you might make marimba, and then you don't learn a new grip for your new instrument. The part's already harder. You don't need to add another layer on top of that, in my opinion. And I, like, when I pick up mallets at home, I pick up Burton grip. That's what I learned when I was 13.
How much did we just learn just now about grips?
A lot.
Hopefully a lot.
A lot.
lot,
More than
yeah.
I think I need to know.
No, I think you can always know more.
Yeah,
I think
lifelong
you can.
learner.
Can I please ask the next question,
Yes.
Ayren, even though I did the rapid fire? This one is, do you have your own set of triangle beaters?
Oh yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, how many came in the set?
You'll buy a set. They'll come in like a bag, and it's one brand, and you'll get like 6 or 7 maybe.
Okay, I feel like my son got a set of triangle beaters, and I really thought there were like 12 different ones
Oh
in
no,
it.
might
and
be 4.
so, no, it was more than that. I promise you. So we'll have to confirm with him, but just curious
Depends on the
about
brand.
that.
And part of it is like you could buy like a stick of metal for $3,
Right?
but a triangle beater is it. There's a lot of different variations of them. The part that you strike the
Did
triangle
you
with.
know that, Ayren?
I did not know that, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we get chosen for the basketball Star
Mhm,
Spangled Banner, can I buy
Yeah, you can borrow a triangle
you
beater.
can also look at Jackson's set.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's so many options
12
there.
options?
12 is great.
I really think it's
You'll
12.
have to coach
Maybe
me
I'm
on the
wrong.
triangle
I
part.
don't know. We'll have to see. So
Usually
thanks for
4 to
answering that.
6.
Okay, Ayren, back to you.
Oh, what is the most unique instrument that you have had in the front
Oh my gosh.
ensemble?
I love this question. So when I was marching DCI in 2015, 16, and 17, I marched Santa Clara Vanguard in the front ensemble, and we had a theremin in the front ensemble.
Yes.
It was awesome.
That's
and
awesome.
It went with the show in 2015, and then they're like, well, the guy who played it last year comes back in 16, let's just put it in there. Then in 2017, we had this like weird little moment that we ended up bringing it back for, and that was played by Ashley Ridenauer, who's like, she taught our master classes last year, and she's kind of a local percussionist, one of my really good friends. And I remember each year somebody would be like, all right, this is a theremin. You just need to go figure out how it works. Nobody knew how to teach it because nobody knew how to play it. They just knew what it sounded like. Props to those students who just grabbed it and they're like, okay, I guess I'm learning the theremin. And
That's so cool.
they got it in like March or April with the expectation that they would play by May, June or so.
Okay, so for folks who don't know what a theremin is, can you explain?
I think they
kind of?
should just Google it because
Yeah.
I don't
You
think
think
there's
so?
any way to explain it.
No,
I
I
think you
think
just
it-
have to see it.
Yeah, you really should just Google it because it's a funny sound, and you've heard a theremin before if you've ever watched like television or old cartoons and stuff like that. But it's an old pre-synthesizer electronic instrument, one of the first electronic instruments, maybe the first. I don't want to say yes or no, but the way it works, there's two poles on it. One of them controls the volume, the amplitude of a sound wave, and the other one controls the frequency. So as you get closer, it gets higher, and as you get further away, it gets lower. And the same thing for the volume. If it doesn't sense a hand, it will not have any amplitude, and if it doesn't sense any hand, so I don't know what it puts out, if it's like electromagnetic whatevers, but you essentially, when you have a sound wave, you have amplitude, which is its distance that it's traveling, and that's loudness, and then you have frequency, which is like how fast it moves, and if it's high or low frequency, and so you are manipulating the two. The thing people don't know about theremins, though, is that you can cheat. You can actually, on a modern theremin, you can set the mode that it's in. You can set it to be in a major scale, and it will, with variants, you can say major scale, always center the pitch, and it will always play in tune, or you can say major scale, with a 20-cent band on each side, so you can manipulate the intonation a little bit, or you can say it's a Lydian scale, and the top note is C and the bottom note is C, and so it will stick itself within the confines. Old ones did not have that, so when you see players do this, they do this weird like instant finger wiggle setting of a distance in order to capture the right note on a scale.
I feel like that reminds me of playing the harp, Aaron. So I feel like you should play the theremin
It
too.
did look like
Yeah.
that.
Something.
Yeah, probably with
similar?
less technique.
Yes, indeed.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so, do you have a winter drum line?
We don't do winter drumline here. It's not very common in Texas. There's some groups
Because
around
it's
us
never
that do it.
winter.
Yeah, that is true.
That's true.
Oh my gosh. I know, like the closest group to us that does it is Glen High School, and they're pretty good. But in Texas, generally in the spring, schools will do percussion ensemble. So it's a chance, and that's what we do. And I like percussion ensemble more than winter drumline because it's a chance for us to practice chamber music skills. We get to do a large ensemble piece called percussion orchestra. It's got like 14 players in it roughly. Then each class, how we do it at Westlake is each class will have a class piece. So all 7 or 8 players are in a piece. And then from there, the top 2 bands get split into chamber groups, so trios and quartets, which is unconducted. And I think that's a really useful skill to develop as a musician, but especially as a percussionist, as that is most of our literature. We don't really have like hundreds of years to pull from. We have like a couple decades of music, and composers are still figuring out what percussion was. The instruments were not very good. Now we have a 5-octave marimba that was invented in like the late 80s, early 90s. It hit the market in like 1991. I mean, that is not a lot of time for an instrument to really develop. So they just don't quite know what they're writing for yet. So important early works by composers like David Mislenka and forgetting who wrote Crown of Thorns. Big composers will write for the percussion orchestra, and in universities like University of Oklahoma and TCU and larger groups will commission works as well. Like TCU in particular, the last 2 years, our percussion orchestra piece, both of them were commissioned by TCU because it's like one of their mission statements as a studio is like, we commission new works and we premiere new works. So I hope Westlake gets to that point. I have paid into a couple commissions and put my name as Matt Armeni with Westlake High School. And we premiered a piece last year on the percussion concert by Ashley Ridenauer, actually, who played the theremin at Santa Clara Vanguard. It's kind of funny. It's a small world.
It is a small world.
Yeah. It's a young art form.
Next week, I think it is, you're going to drumline competition.
Yeah, September 13th.
So what is the difference of drumline competition versus the all marching band competition? And do you have to prepare for it separately? So are the percussion kids like doing double duty rehearsals?
We're not doing extra rehearsals, but we're moving at a little faster pace than we have in previous years. So we haven't been to this one, but it's a pretty big drumline competition. It's called Thunder in the Hills. It's at Dripping Springs High School, and really the best percussion sections in Central Texas and like Coppell High School and Hebron High School or a Marcus or one of those equivalents from Louisville, they usually will come down for this. So part of why we do this is that we get 4 judges who are only percussionists, people who speak percussion, who understand what we're doing on a really, really fine level, front ensemble and battery, and they can get on the field and follow the students. I didn't say, but it's standstill. So we're going to have stands. Like, they're not going to carry the drums. They're going to set up in an arc behind the front ensemble, and we're just going to play the show.
Is it ever indoors or is it outdoors?
This one's outdoors, but like winter drumline is an indoor version of marching band where they'll still march, and that's like in a gym. And I don't really love the sound of drums in a gym. I did it in high school. I
No,
wasn't a
I'm
fan.
just wondering. I feel like I've been to that
Mhm.
competition, but I think maybe because of the weather, it might have been
Oh.
inside. I don't
Maybe
know. I
it
just
could
feel
be.
like I was inside for some reason, but just curious
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds different, right?
Mhm.
Instruments sound different inside
Yeah,
than
they
outside.
sound terrible inside
Yes.
sometimes.
So they don't have to learn new music. You're literally
we're gonna play the
playing
show.
the show.
We
Oh,
have the
okay.
soloist coming with us too.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's like going to be a trumpet solo, and that's like standard practice. And I've never been to this one before, but I've kind of talked to some people that have, and I'm just like, well, so do you bring all your solos? And they're like, yeah. It gives context because sometimes you're just like rolling a cymbal and you're looking up because it's a trombone solo, and like it just lets the judges know this is not about us right now. Because with marching band, there's always this like primary and secondary and tertiary thing to watch and focus on. With percussion, standstill percussion ensemble, there's no visual, there's no woodwind feature for the woodwind feature or brass section for the brass feature, and so like you got to give a little context. And I think that the percussion judges, they know, they understand, but it just helps and ties in the show as well as like brings musical themes in and out, and then it's like, oh, the front ensemble played this thing that we just heard the alto flute play, and without the alto flute it wouldn't make as much musical sense.
That makes sense.
that's pretty neat. We might have to go to that.
It is really neat. We should go.
It'll be fun. And we haven't done this, so this is like this is our chance. This is our only chance for somebody to actually watch the front ensemble and give appropriate feedback to the front ensemble, and that it's just rare.
So on marching competitions, do you not get a lot of feedback? They're like, oh, front ensemble, whatever.
It's not that they don't give feedback, it's that they're not always percussionists. And you might have really, really great band directors that are giving great feedback to the winds and visual feedback and all this stuff. And they might comment on the volume or even the quality of something in the battery in the front ensemble, but it's just not that I don't trust it, but it's just not from a percussionist who is thinking only in percussion terms and in saying things in percussion terms. Or maybe they're scared to identify hybrid rudiment, whereas somebody at Thunder in the Hill is going to be like, yeah, watch the left hand on the grandma there, which is a hybrid rudiment. It's a term. But, it's someone I'm just like, I want these guys to show up and tear it apart and give us the realest, rawest feedback so we can get better.
I get that when my students go to UIO region and I'm like, just play. They don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's frustrating.
When you go to state, we'll pay attention then.
Yeah. State finals is the only show where there's a percussion judge, and even then, they're confined to the front of the field, and sometimes the judge is not like I do DCI in the summers, and so I know these judges. These are the same people, and I'm not saying I don't trust them, but I know who the professional snare drummer is, and I know who the professional marimba player is, and like. It's good to have a combination of both at the drumline contest instead of just throwing the dice and getting another snare drummer.
All right, now I'm going to ask this next one too because I want to see if he gives me the right answer for this one. If you had to play a wind instrument, what would it be?
Okay, this is cheating, but I've always thought like if I like changed universes or whatever, I would get like a multiple woodwinds degree. Because they offered that at UNT, and I remember like my woodwind methods teacher was like someone, he played all of them, and I just thought it was so cool.
Okay, now you have to pick one woodwind.
I know it's
that's
not
the wrong
one. Okay,
None of our guests
but,
get the
like,
right
tenor
answers.
sax would be great. I would play tenor sax as well because I'm a big fan of jazz. But in terms of wind band music, I think it would be so fun to play clarinet. I like in the
think
way
so.
the feedback of it on your face
Little
feels good.
klezmer.
Klezmer, yeah.
Klezmer.
Oh, that would
There
be
you
fun.
go.
That would be super fun. Yeah.
I
But I
saw,
played flute.
oh my gosh, I used to teach at this summer festival, and they did a feature with the wind ensemble that had three clarinets playing
Oh, nice.
in that. It was
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah. It's just like a really unique style.
It is.
But yeah, I'd play clarinet. I like it. I like bass clarinet a lot too, especially like when you play a lot of modern music and chamber music, bass clarinet starts to pop up more and more. It's just like a really nice timbre, matches the
More than the
percussionist.
nutcracker.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of a good question. What is the biggest challenge in changing from marching percussion to
Oh,
concert percussion?
I think it's a combination of like when you play like a marching snare drum, it is a really, really tightly wound Kevlar head, and you're playing a tree trunk of a drumstick, and you're playing louder than you would ever play in concert band. And then as you transition to concert band, I don't think the techniques or the musicality changes. I think the approach like good technique is good technique, whether you're holding a tree trunk or a slightly smaller tree trunk. But for the kids and for me, it's totally like a schedule thing. It's just like it's a total life change to be outside all the time and to be focusing on one 11-minute show, and then all of a sudden I'm split into 3 bands, 3 percussion ensembles with a percussion orchestra piece and like 6 chamber pieces, and so it's like a lifestyle change, and it's also like the literal instrument you're playing on changes. But if you're in the front ensemble, I hope I'm teaching them the same chamber music skills for percussion ensemble that I'm teaching. I don't know. As a lifelong front ensemble person, I felt like I was always in a chamber group. That was always what I was doing. I was just playing the same. I would play inside or outside because we got microphones.
Mm-hmm.
We have mics. We don't need to beat the crap out of the bars. We have microphones. I'll just bump you on the mixer if we need to hear you more.
We did not have those.
Oh yeah, it
That was
used to not be a thing.
old school.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Is your drumline sponsored by anyone? Like the sticks or cymbals? Do they?
No, I've thought about this a lot. I could become a sponsored artist. At least like right away, I think I could get an IP sponsorship. But then I'm like, oh, well, what if I don't want to be an IP artist? What if I want to be a Vic Firth artist? I don't really know Vic Firth people. I know a lot of IP people, and I know a lot of people who are sponsored by IP. In fact, David Sad, our lesson teacher, is an IP educational artist. And so it would just be a matter of like filling out some paperwork and we'd get a discount on things. But then I couldn't be like in a photograph holding Vic Firth snare drum sticks or something.
Okay.
And I like a lot of brands, and also like then I wouldn't be able to voice my opinions as broadly on innovative percussion, which I have a lot of opinions on innovative percussion. But as far as marching equipment is concerned, I like innovative a lot. I think it would be cool to get a Pearl Drum sponsorship because I just like their equipment a lot, and I love their marimbas, their rosewood marimbas. But that one's a lot harder to get than like a stick or mallet endorsement. And probably in the middle there is like a cymbal endorsement. I think if Westlake started to enter more things and become a bigger name and maybe win some percussion ensemble competitions, we could try to shoot for like a Black Swamp or a Sabian or something like that. That's definitely like on a goals list of mine. But I'm just trying to like survive the school day right now. But I want to. I don't know. I'm nervous.
Okay.
I remember, I want to go back to the front ensemble and the drum line. As students come into the school, is there a preference? Do they say a preference? Do they audition? Which one is harder to get into? How does that work?
So when they show up in the spring, we'll do a series of 5 camps, we call them. It's just sort of like a way to split it up starting in April. And they'll show up on a Wednesday afternoon, for example, and I'll say, hey, like, are you interested in being in the battery or the front ensemble? And a lot of kids, more and more every year, want to be in the front ensemble. And that's how I always was. I've always loved playing mallets. I like playing melodies and scales and whatnot. And a lot of kids want to be on the drum line. Not a lot of kids are capable of being on the drum line, either carrying the drum or manipulating the stick in a way that like they could play in time right now. And maybe they just need a year playing vibraphone or a year playing the rack, and then they go out year 2 as a sophomore and they're auditioning for bass drum or snare drum and they make it. And sometimes that's just what you need. A lot of students will do 1 year in the front ensemble and then 3 in the battery, or 2 in the front and 3 in the battery, or 2 in the battery. Or maybe they're pretty good, but they can't really make snare drum yet. I mean, that's the coveted spot. Everyone wants to march snare drum. So if you don't make snare drum, but you're pretty good at keeping time and marking time and like playing your part, you know how to manipulate the stick in the right ways, you might get a bass drum spot. Rarely will I just be like, you didn't make snare, go to quads. Quads it's hard because they're really heavy, and you gotta also be good at drumming. And so it's a combination of like physical and musical characteristics that get you on the quad line. But usually like those students audition for quads. They kind of know. And I maybe tell them in 8th grade, like, oh, you'd be a really good quad drummer. And you just plant the seed, and then they play quads in 8th grade band, or 7th and 8th grade band. Like we have a quad drummer right now who I love. I remember seeing him in 7th grade and be like, quads. And now he's a freshman playing quads.
That's
and
awesome.
He's doing great. And yeah, he's totally killing it. And I'm like so glad that I just had a feeling like you are a quad drummer. I can just tell. But if he was like, I want to play snare drum, then he can play snare drum if he makes it.
I wondered what was coveted and what really people wanted to do, or if you just said you here.
No, I mean it's somewhat that. I'll be like, look, you didn't make the quad line, but you should play bass drum because you're pretty good at bass drum. With the front ensemble, it's like anyone can play vibraphone, but the snare line of the front ensemble is the marimba. Like if you are into keyboard, you want to play marimba, and you want to play an inside 3 marimba spot because the parts are just way harder. It's way more complicated, and the outside spots are not not easy, but they're just a little more supportive, and they're usually lower register. Kind of the way it works is the outer players will have a lower register, and as you move inside, they move up. Like our center marimba will play mostly in the top half of our keyboard, and then we'll play sort of this mid-register, and then the end marimbas play a lot of low-register stuff. And so then it blends really well.
I did not know that. It always looks like they're all playing the same thing.
They might be playing the same thing, just an octave off.
Oh, okay.
Typically. So like most stuff in the marimba line or in the front ensemble is like doubled by octave. It's just kind of a stylistic thing. I don't know if I'm like the world's biggest fan of it, but it's how marching band is sometimes.
I would think it helps support the sound, though.
Oh, it totally does.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, octaves versus a single line,
Mhm.
it's a big difference
Yeah.
in quality.
It's sort of is like dictated by orchestration. What's going on in the winds? What's not going on in the winds? Can we lighten out and just do
Hear
whatever
one little
line?
marimba, play your one little line while the brass stand behind you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's why we're mic'd, so you don't have to break the instrument to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I've just like so many questions that
Mhm.
unrelated and unplanned. So the bass drums, do we march with all the different sizes?
We do, yeah. We have 5 sizes. We march with a bass. It's kind of called a bass 0 sometimes, but we have a 16-inch bass drum as our bass 1.
Okay.
And that's reserved for players who need a smaller bass drum. And then after that, we have an 18-inch. Then I believe it's 20, 24, 28. So there's kind of a big jump, right? 20 to 24, and then to 28. But they go up to 30, and then 31, and 32, and those become like unmanageable for a young student. And poor our bass 5 is like he's a freshman, and he's a great drummer, and he's pretty good at marching, but he just got thrown on bass 5. But someone's got to do it, and he's doing a great job, and he does not complain about it, and I'm really, really proud of him.
Good for him.
But yeah, like I know that there's always this moment I'm like, all right, listen, you're going to play bass 5, and it's not because you're bad, but you can carry it, and I want you to be in the battery so you can get this drumming experience. And then, like, he could easily just decide he wants to play bass 2 next year, or he wants to play quads or snare drum, and, like, what's happening is he's in the battery class, he gets to drum. We all get to, like, get better together, but somebody's got to carry it, too. So, sorry, bud.
Don't grow is the advice.
Yeah, just be a little too small.
Don't grow. That's funny. What is your fondest marching band memory?
Oh my gosh. Okay. When I was in high school band, I really liked long bus rides. I liked chilling on the bus, listening to music. It was never like, you know what, I don't remember really well, like the minute details of competitions and whether we won or something like that. Well, we didn't win. I know that. But, how good did we do? I don't know. But I really remember the locations. I think the same is true in drum corps. I remember like every gym I've ever slept in, and every like bathroom I ever had to shower in. And I loved looking out the windows and just kind of taking it all in. I do the same thing now. Like when we drive on Friday, I'm just going to look out the window and I like that stuff.
Is that how you entertain yourself on long trips?
I like to read. I have a Kindle now. I got a Kindle for my birthday. It's pretty awesome. I've been using that a lot, and sometimes I'll bring work with me and I'll like read my textbook because I'm trying to make a reading guide for chapter 2, and I try to do something, but I can't listen to music and read. That's too much. Like I'm going to focus on the music or I'm going to focus on the words. I can't do both. So if I look out the window,
you could
it's
listen
music.
to the Sibelius Symphony number 2, and
2.
read.
I'm a fan of 2, but only the last movement. There's like a cool timpani part there, but
I have to have music in my ears when I fly or I get sick.
Oh yeah.
And I often forget to download different music.
Oh, you only have
So you always have that one?
Yeah.
And that seems to
Yeah.
always be on my phone, which is way better than the second
Yeah.
movement of La Mer.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I was marching drum corps. I had a little iPod, iPod Nano, and like there's like DRM in music, and so I had a bunch of stuff that I had bought on iTunes, but then I happened upon all of the Foo Fighters albums and all of the Incubus albums, and I put them on my iPod, but it removed all of my music that I had bought because it was like, this doesn't match, so you can either have one or the other. So then I spent the whole summer 2014 just listening to the same like 3 Foo Fighters albums over and over, and some Incubus. I think that like poisoned my brain or something. I mean, I don't dislike the Foo Fighters, but I've had enough.
I hear you. Okay, we were talking still about band trips, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you this question. It's very serious. What is your favorite meal on band trips?
Okay, I love when the bird feeders email me and they're like, so they have salads. what would you like? And I like getting a fancy salad, something with like a little crunchy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can only eat so much fried food as what
The
I'm
directors
as I get
get
older.
special orders here.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Shout out
Yes.
bird feeders.
That's awesome.
I try to eat like if it's an option, I try to eat everything that is there. But if they're like, hey, there's a salad, I'm gonna choose a salad.
So, what is your favorite percussion visual?
In
All
the
right.
show this year.
Okay, so I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I actually hate visuals. I'm like anti-visual because
I don't even know what a percussion visual is.
okay,
Is
I'm
that
gonna
when
do
they
one.
like do the sticks and
They'll
then
do
they
stuff
make
with their
words with their
sticks.
sticks
Yeah,
and they
They like
raise
to
them
do
over
this
their
one.
head?
This is like a V. The audience
Mhm.
can't see, but I'm making a V with my sticks right now.
Mhm.
And that's like a Vanguard visual. And there's a lot of classic Santa Clara visuals from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s that the current group still, like the current Vanguard still
Mhm.
uses. And that's like a tradition. It's like kind of cool when they do it. When I was marching and I would see it, I liked it. But like as a high schooler, I'm just like, just play in time and play the right time. But they have audibles, which are like, they'll like say things. There's one in part one where
Uh-huh.
they're behind a trombone player and they go, Harry, let it rip, which is like play loud. And then they have another one. They have a meow in part two. I love the meow.
Meow,
Oh yeah,
really?
because Jungle Cats. That's the show.
I think it's
Urban
Urban
Jungle.
Jungle.
Urban jungle cats. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
And so that's why we meow.
Is that related to the giant roar that I heard
Oh my
last
God.
night in the
The
rehearsal?
giant roar. I don't design the sounds. I just make sure they are at the right volume, and that one is currently not at the right volume. So I'm messing with it, and I keep lowering certain things. But we have a sound designer, so like every second of the show is like fleshed out from an electronics perspective. There's always like some level of bass or sample that's going on. I mean, you start the show with a sample. In between each movement is a sample. Before every big hit is a sample or a riser, and then we have like a just support of certain lines and bass support. Like on the main stage patch I was messing with it yesterday, it was like Jaco Pastorius bass, and I was like, oh, that's why it sounds so like pizzicato-y and so like loud and aggressive. So I'm balancing that stuff. You're not really supposed to hear, or it should be louder than the band. But we're
I
getting
kind
there.
of assumed that since it was Urban Jungle,
Mhm.
that roar was purposeful.
Maybe it was.
I mean, they did it both
Yeah.
times. The first time, my husband's like, "What was that?" I was like, "I don't know. It sounds like
Jungle?
something messed up."
Yeah.
And then the second time they ran it, it was there again.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's Urban Jungle. Maybe that's
Yeah.
the big.
You've thought about that more than I have. I should have an answer. I have to be able to talk to the judges. Like, well, no, the roar, it's thematic. That's why. That's why
That's
it's
right.
loud.
It's
and
part
it's
of the
certainly not
theme.
my fault.
I like that.
It was a little. I was not prepared for it.
Yeah, it
So
was.
when
loud
did you
last night.
hear the roar?
Last night. Last night was back to school night,
Mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they played through the show for any parents who wanted to
Oh,
see.
okay,
Not
okay.
not all the show, but at 7:45.
Mm-hmm.
And like you had to skip the last two periods of back to school night, and most people either skipped back to school night or they
Mhm.
skipped the band. Is all of the music for the percussion written for the show yet?
It is, yeah. We have all three movements now. In fact, the kids have learned all three movements, and I know the band has them, but the percussion, because we have this drumline competition coming up, we have already started going through part 3 again and just being like, hey, remember this from band camp? Don't forget, because we're gonna play it in 2.5 weeks. And so the band is supposed to have passed off part 3 at this point in
Mhm.
recording. So like they know it. Everyone in the band is supposed to know it. Not everyone's passed off yet, and that's fine. But percussion in particular, like we are hitting this in classes, even if it's just 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes of every day. It's like, okay, let's move letter D to E in part 3 and just come over it. Remember this sticking. And, 3 weeks ago we played this and I said, that's mezzo piano now. And just to jog their memories. But over the next 2 weeks, we're going to kick it into high gear and do a lot more part 3.
So are you playing all three parts of the show
That's the goal.
next week?
We might do part 1 and 2, but you don't want to end on a ballad. Yeah, but we have it's not a traditional ballad. It's like this Alanis Morissette, this
Mm-hmm.
dominant flat 13 chord the whole time with like a big F sharp against an F natural, G flat against an F natural in the chord. And so it doesn't have this bow on top feeling. It leaves you a little agitated, and then you go into part 3 and it's like so much more active and aggressive and very cool. I love Michael Dougherty, and I just think that's a better way to close it off, like the designers intended, with an exclamation point, less of like an ellipses.
Every show has to end on a high note.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait till you hear part 3. It's pretty cool.
I'm anxious to hear part 3.
Me too.
Evan
Well,
said it's
give
good.
us some time. Give us like 2 months first.
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months.
You don't
and a
have 2
What?
months.
1
you
month.
have BOA on the 20th.
Oh my
That's
Gosh,
right.
I
It's
know.
coming up.
Yeah. I'm excited about that though. I feel like part 1 is in a really good spot. I'm excited to perform. Even last night, you saw the run through last night. It was like, oh hey guys, we're making music out there. This is like a real marching band production. And that's 3 minutes and 45 seconds too. That's like 2 movements of a marching band show typically. So I think it's in a really good spot. And I
Isn't
love
that the terrible thing about music? You work so hard and you work so hard, and it's like, oh, it's over. It was so short.
Yeah, it's temporal. Sad. But that's the fun part. I think it's all just a vehicle to like teach them musical skills, so then concert band is better, and then the real king of the year, percussion ensemble, is better. Concert band's fine. Percussion ensemble though, that's the best part of my day. Oh yeah.
Okay.
How many techs do you have for the percussion section?
So during band camp, we had 2. We have a front ensemble tech. And for band camp, it was Dr. Sad, David Sad, our lesson teacher, and he was here for the first 2 weeks. So it's like percussion camp. We do our own week, and then the first week of band camp, and then he started teaching lessons. And then we have a second front ensemble tech who's here for the season, Rachel Vu, and she's awesome. She's her first year with us. And then I am also just like by trade a front ensemble tech, and I can't stop myself from hanging out with them all day. And for the battery for band camp, we had a guy, Colton Townsend, who is he is about to start his DMA at UT. And when I found out he was coming to town, I was like, hey, do you want to teach our band camp? Because our battery tech that we have for the season, Marcos Gerardo, was marching troopers this summer. So he was not available for band camp as he was snare drumming all day, every day. So I knew that Marcus was going to come back and have a lot to offer to the students, and it was worth waiting. And Colton was available. And so we brought him in, and he ended up doing like an incredible job, and the kids loved him. And I was just like, Colton, please stay somehow. So he is actually teaching some lessons at Hill Country now. So starting his DMA, he's working with the Longhorn Band. He's teaching a couple lessons at Hill Country, and I'm just trying to keep him around. He's a composer as well, so I'm hoping to try to play some of his music, or if he ends up having a commission, I'm going to try to pay into it and just, make these connections. But yeah, we love Mr. Townsend. He killed it.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this one now.
He's been quizzing me about this.
He's been quizzing you about it.
He asked me what it is.
The
And I'm
special
like,
move?
I'm not going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you talked about the special, like you
This is
know
true.
what it
But
is.
he
I probably
forgot.
do. I probably do know what it is.
Okay, so remind me, you're an open second, and then you do a plie,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you do a forced arch to one side, and then you flip to the other side.
I think it's sort of a thing that shows like I'm not a band visual person. You got to ask Austin this question because I've only ever done front
Oh,
ensemble.
we ask
Right.
everybody.
Yeah.
this
Yeah, we've
question.
asked
Yeah.
everyone.
So,
yes.
We'll probably even
I
ask
think-
the bird feeders this question.
Yeah. Oh, that would be funny.
Have you seen that? What do you think?
I think what it does is it's sort of a signal to the audience and to the judges. Like, look, we have all of this. Like, not only are we playing music at a high level, we're marching at a high level, but we also have this demand from an upper body perspective, or lower and upper body. We control the horn, we control the sound as it's coming out, but we're also moving. We're doing these crazy things, and everyone's doing it. In a 30-yard line, and we have a lot of other. I don't know what to call it. Band visual is not really accurate, but like sort of it's a mixture of dance,
the
choreography.
movement,
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of choreo.
I don't mind the movement and choreography. I am like slightly old school, I think, So some of it I'm just like, okay.
It's like the level 1 like band choreo move. Like the first thing that you got to learn, and for band kids especially, they don't dance normally, and
Right.
so you got to sort of like convince them that this is valuable, and again, like they're still playing the same music, but they have a higher level of demand on all of the content. And so like you get recognized on a music judge tape, they'll say, wow, you're still holding the center of the pitch while doing all of this lower body stuff. And then on the visual tape, they'll be like, wow, great upper body work, and you're still holding the center of the pitch. And it's this thing that kind of blends captions together. And it's just like the sign of if you see a band do it really well, it's a sign of a good band, a good trained band, and students who work hard and can handle the simultaneous responsibility.
Being in the front ensemble, do you miss not being able to do that special move?
Front ensemble is beginning to become a group of a musical group that does the special move. So like where I marched Santa Clara Vanguard, we never did the special move or anything like that. But now I teach the Bluecoats, and they are like the best performers, sometimes on the whole field at the Bluecoats, and they are performing, they're expressing like all of these different musical moments, but for them, and I have the same rule. It's like it's got to work with the music. It's got to make sense. Every motion matches a sound. But if you go watch like the Bluecoats front ensemble, they move a lot, and like I call it dancing. I'm like, you guys are dancing too much, and sometimes even over there, I'll cut visuals. I'm like, nope, that doesn't work. But I don't add visuals. I just cut them.
Got it.
I'm the hater.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to add or let
Yeah,
us
I'm
know?
actually here to flip the podcast on its head, and I'm going to interview you guys.
Okay. What's that about?
I like talking to teachers with lots of experience. I always find it illuminating to just hear about other people's experience, especially like non-percussionists, because like I talk a lot to percussion directors around. I'm like, hey, I have a question. Hey, I have a question. Oh my gosh, this just happened. Is this normal? And I do that kind of stuff all the time. And it's both from like a music perspective, and also from just like being a public school teacher perspective. And I went to public school and I had a bunch of great teachers. But I always want to know, how long have you guys been involved with public school or just teaching? What made you want to be a teacher?
Okay, so this is my 27th year in education. Yeah. I started out as a fifth grade teacher, and then I became a bilingual fifth grade teacher, and then I was a fourth grade bilingual teacher, and then I was a reading specialist and a reading coach. Like I kind of started moving to different things. And then I was an assistant principal of an elementary school and then a principal of an elementary school. And that was around, well, before and then after COVID. And then not too long after COVID, I thought, I need a change. And I felt like I had been at one campus for a long time, for 14 years.
Wow.
And so I felt like the community needed somebody different as well. So then I went to work in central office. And then from there, just recently, it was a pretty quick change. There's been different things with federal funding changing and whatnot and freezing and that kind of thing. And it affected my position because it was grant funded. And so I thought, you know what? I don't want to worry about that. I'm like, I don't need to worry about that. I have other things to think about and worry about. I said, I'm going to go back to a campus. So now I'm a resource teacher, so bilingual special ed resource teacher at an elementary school.
So why elementary school the whole time?
If you've known me for any length of time, you would probably take a look at me and say, yeah, that's elementary right there. I like to dress up. I like to decorate things.
Yeah.
My friend is laughing over here and it's hilarious. I like to work with small children. I don't know. I just connect with them somehow. Yeah. I like singing and dancing and making a fool of myself.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
It's actually fun because then it's like a built-in little fan club as well. The smiles on their faces when you're working on I love the joy of it all, I think. And yeah, it's me. I think so.
Oh, that's awesome.
I hope I answered your question.
No, I think you did. When I was in college, I had to take a early childhood education style course, but for music. And I remember we would go to this. It was like a university preschool, and they were like guinea pigs for education majors essentially, because we would always go in and out of that class.
Didn't your children
My
do
children
that?
did.
Yeah.
They did do that. Yeah.
So but when I went there, like the only person who's consistent is the music ed professor, who is the specialist in elementary music. And so she would show up with her big skirt on, and all of the kids would sprint over to her and just hug her. And I just thought it was like, that is like, one, you're so powerful, because she was an incredible teacher and professor and like guiding light in my education, and sort of like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? But also like, all of these children, she just like walked into a room and summoned 30 kids to come and hug her. And it was just like, oh my gosh, wow. But there, and I love elementary schoolers, but when I was in there's too many kids with like fingers in their mouth and their pants and their nose and stuff, and then they'd come and hug you, and you're like, oh, okay.
It's not every
and I don't
year.
have kids, so like,
you just carry some hand sanitizer. You just keep washing.
Yeah,
your
it's really
hands.
not the end of the world. I'm sure I would have a lot of fun.
It's pretty fun. Yeah.
What about you, Ayren?
I didn't want to teach. I had zero desire to teach. I was a performance major.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call one day from this woman that said, I need you to teach my kid. And I'm like, no, I'm doing my DMA recital next week. No, I need you to come teach my kid. I'll see you on Tuesday. Okay. Well, they just happened to be in the Eanes School District. And I taught her kid out at Westridge. And then when he came to the high school, he was a little bit special. And so he needed a lot of extra help.
Yeah.
And they decided, let's start doing the Nutcracker.
Oh
my gosh.
So that started.
I was here quite a bit. And Jimmy Edwards, the orchestra director, one day is like, "Hey, build us a harp program." And I'm like, "No, I'm not a teacher.
Yeah,
I don't
do all
know
this work for
anything
us."
about this." And then the next thing I know, both middle schools had recruited 2 students each for me.
Oh, wow.
And so, and then it all seemed to be related to me having babies. I started teaching just as Ellie was born.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, this is all I'm going to do. And then when I got pregnant with Evan, Jimmy's like, "Hey, write a proposal. We need a harp ensemble class." I'm like, "No." So somehow it was the weakest and worst proposal ever.
Yeah.
But then here I am.
Yeah. Well, how do you
And
feel now after
I
all
feel
your
like
years?
I'm glad I never had another child.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
That's fair. That's
Evan,
fair.
Evan was born the night before the very first harp ensemble performance.
Oh my God.
I'm like, every time I have a baby, my job gets bigger. No more babies.
No more babies. No more babies. Wow.
I love this job and I love teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so glad that that all happened and that my nose kind of got all steamrolled because I would not trade teaching these kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that leads into my next question. You kind of brought it up. Do you feel like, having young kids, or now your kids are in high school or older and graduated college, and like being in elementary and middle school and high school educators, do you feel like that changed either how you taught or how you raised your kids, or just a general perspective?
I think I tried to use too many things that I learned in the classroom, right, with my with my kiddos, and I was like, yeah, that's not, no, it doesn't work. But then there are other things that were very beneficial. There were so many different things, like community events and different things that we would have at the schools where I taught and where I worked, and it was nice to be able to bring my children to that so they could see different folks in different communities and kind of have different experiences. So I think that was really beneficial. And I think just over the years, just the more I've learned about different things, I've been really fascinated in the last part of my principalship. And then the last few years, we had the opportunity to learn more about the brain and how it functions and the neurosequential model in education. And so basically, where kids are how they're feeling and what they're doing, kind of where that means, like kind of where they are in their brain. And so is that the optimal space and place for them to be learning, and what can you do to help them regulate so that they can be in the best place for learning? But I'm really excited and passionate about that. And so that's actually one thing that I love now about being back in the classroom, because now I'm kind of, some of the things that we did when I was a principal, now I'm putting into practice myself in the classroom, which I think is so cool. But
That's pretty cool.
The biggest thing I think really also is just, again, is just building relationships with folks. I think when I was younger, I wanted to make sure I was doing all the right things and all the right, make sure you have this and you have this and you have everything, all your ducks in a row and all these pieces. But it really boils down to the relationships that you have with people and that you build, the positive ones, I think that makes the most impact. Miss Ayren?
My children did not benefit from me teaching because I've loved teaching in Westlake, and Evan does so many band classes, and he comes in and says, "Hey, Mama." And I love it. I love that he greets me in the hall, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But parental wise, harp students are classically very, very intelligent and highly driven. And almost all of my students did all the APs.
Yeah.
And almost all of my students did the Ivies, Stanford. I think I had super high expectations for my children that they felt it was unfair for them to live up to, because they clearly were not harp students.
Yeah.
So that was hard for them. And it was really hard for me because I'd had years of teaching all these students that were in the top 10%, and most of them not the top 10%, but the top 10 at Westlake. And then my kids were not. And I'm like, why aren't you? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? I know you can. So they did not benefit from me being a teacher here. And they also did not benefit from the fact that sometimes my students took priority over them because I work with all my kids one-on-one too for many, many years. Then sometimes my kids would be at home when I had things with my students.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
they got used to it. I don't think it hurt them any. They thought it hurt them.
Wow.
But
That might have happened a little in our household as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your husband's also a band director for a long time. And
Mhm.
I know it affected one of your sons in a positive way. Like he's
Right.
a music teacher and he's passionate about music and
Mhm.
being a band director. And what I really loved about having Jackson here, for listeners who don't know Jackson, was our student teacher 2 years ago, one of the two student teachers, and he was a percussionist. So he hung out with me all day. And I loved Jackson's passion for teaching. It was like, I think even if he weren't a musician, he'd be a teacher.
Do you have any more questions?
No, that's all I had.
Awesome. Well, we just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day, especially late in the afternoon, to speak with us on our podcast, which really is for our own entertainment. But
Hey, I listened to the first one.
we could talk. Well, thank you. Y'all need to make sure you listen too. So not just to this episode, but all of them.
All of them.
So listeners, I just want to say that if you maybe heard something and you wanted to hear a little more about it, or you had some questions, maybe there was a question that we didn't ask Ben that you wanted to hear the answer to, you can email us at fansoftheband.whs@yahoo.com.
Nice.
We will answer your email, or we can maybe see your question and then kind of get the answers and then share those on a subsequent podcast. Listeners, you know, this is our first podcast. We're still learning, but we're having so much fun, and we hope that you do too, and we hope that you learn along with us. So I think that's a wrap for episode 3. Thanks, everyone.